How's it going, everybody? I'm Jeff Slakey from iFiber 1 KMAS, and I am very happy to be able to spend some time here with Ralph Munro, the longest serving Secretary of State for the state of Washington. Folks know him from that, but folks also know him from right here on the trails. We're kind of on the edge of the city of Olympia and Thurston County property. Ralph, how you doing?
Fine. Nice to be here.
Thanks for spending some time with us. Our son goes to McLane, and we were interested in a new committee that came about to kind of talk about and look at this trail system around the school and here kind of on the way to Evergreen. And you had a hand in creating this with some of your friends, and that's why we're here today to talk about this.
Well, thank you. I'd be happy to talk about it. So in 1992 or 91, somewhere around there, I got a call from Rick Bird, and he was the principal at McLane Elementary. And he said, Ralph, these kids aren't coming from houses with yards anymore. A lot of them are coming from condos, and a lot of them are coming from apartments built around the west side. And he said they don't know how to behave outside. Can you think of an outdoor project? Well, a few days later, I was talking to a logger here in town, a forester named Dave Pearsall, and he said he wanted to do something with kids, getting them planting trees. So we thought, why don't we plant trees? And we started looking for a place that we could plant trees somewhere right in the neighborhood, someplace close to the school. And so we talked about this property because this property was owned by the state of Washington. And then I called them. They said they just gave it to the county. Called the county, and they said, yeah, you could do that. You could plant trees in that property. It was owned by the county road department. So we came out here, and this entire property here for I don't know, half a mile or more, was covered with Scotch broom, big Scotch broom. This butts on it that thick and impossible for any of us with our tractors. So Dave called a group of loggers together, and they volunteered, and they came in and they cleared all the Scotch broom for us and piled it up in piles. You'll see the piles all around the area. And then we rented a tractor and a disc, and we plowed it and disked the whole thing ourselves. And then, so we just had a big open field. And then we went out and talked to Port Blakely Timber Company, and they donated a whole lot of trees to us. And we put together enough trees. We had 16,000 trees. Wow. And we planted them all on the same day. They're all the same tree. Now we've interplanted some, where some are smaller and so forth, but every tree looks just about like this one.
And these are the trees from 92?
These are the trees from 1992. So if you cut down that tree and that tree and that tree and count the rings, you'd see they're all planted the same day. And the kids came over and planted them. We had the school buses arriving and departing all day long. And it poured down rain. It was a big muddy mess. And a lot of kids showed up in sneakers. So we put plastic bags over their shoes. And they came out, and then we had a whole group of foresters here from Port Blakely Timber and from Weyerhaeuser and a number of other timber companies. And they helped the kids, and local volunteers and parents came from miles around. And we planted every tree.
So fast forward now, it's 2021, and annually these areas are blessed to have the kids come by still, and they plant the daffodils up and down the roads, and it kind of continues on.
Yeah, it has, and it's just been great. We didn't, people think of it now as a trail. We didn't ever dream of it as a trail. But when these trees are only this high and the grass grows up around them, then the mice eat the base of the tree. So for several years, I had to go in and mow between these rows. You see, they're all planted in rows. So I was mowing here one day, and trees are only about this big. And I saw the Olympia High School girls running team, Capitol High girls running team, go running by. And they'd kind of built their own path through here, just kind of followed where. And I thought, gee. And the population was getting more and more in the neighborhood. And we realized that sooner or later it's not going to be a place to walk that's safe.
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, maybe we should try to coordinate a trail.
And the need has only gotten greater over the years as the neighborhoods and things have built up around here. I know people use these trails all the time, and for walkers, for dog walkers, you're on bikes, there's families. This is a heavily utilized trail.
We really had a blessing came along. A guy named Bob Barnes came along, and he worked for the State Highway Department, State Department of Transportation. And he had full support of the DOT to work here, to be involved with this, because it is adjacent to state highways. And he helped us immensely. And getting coordinated, and the highway department hauled in tons and tons of gravel for a base for this trail.
Uh-huh.
And then we applied to the Thurston County to get enough money to pave it. But it was that took several years to go through the struggles and the hoops and the paperwork, but it was worth every bit of it. And today it's just amazing to me. I walk through here and I see hundreds and hundreds of people using it.
Yeah.
You're fine. No, you're not be sorry.
Yeah. See, as you see, there's an active trail. It's
Yeah.
it's working now. So there are different signs around the trail that signify different ponds, and you mentioned barns, and there's a Barnes Bog up the way here, and a Pearsall Pond. Tell me about those folks.
Yeah. Well, let's walk down to one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's just beautiful. The trail around McLane is what, about a half mile or something like that?
Well, I think it's about we probably have now a total of 1.5 miles, but the great opportunity is we have connections coming to connect with the Grass Lakes Trail, and to connect. Our goal was to head west.
Okay.
We want this trail to go out to the Capitol Forest, and so the next step would be down through the property across the street from the school. And then down to Mud Bay, and then across the bridge down there. But we had a lot of steps in between to get there.
So on the corner of Evergreen Parkway and 17th, there's kind of a trailhead there, and it shows your name and the sign.
Right.
That was just recently installed in the last few years.
The county passed that, yeah, and did that. They kind of sneaked up on me.
That's usually how it works. Is that considered kind of the start of this, or?
Oh, I think the start should be at McLane School.
Sure.
Should be at McLane Elementary. You don't have to go around. You can go right here.
And
so
since
basically after we planted trees, and then we kind of ran out of space to plant trees. And what do we do with all these kids?
Yeah.
Our goal was to have every child plant something every year. And so we turned to daffodils. And we started to raise money, and the fire department helped us raise money, and neighbors helped, and parents helped, teachers helped. And now we plant, 3,000 or 4,000 daffodil bulbs every year.
We took part of it this
Yeah.
fall when we were
Kids
doing
come
it,
out and plant them.
It's beautiful. It's fun.
And we have a kind of crafted together a thing behind the tractor. We could dig the furrows, and the kids can plant them. And I mean, it seems like a small thing to you and I, but a lot of kids never plant anything, never have planted anything. So that was something we're really proud of. And these are up a little early, but probably a lot of them will bloom.
Yeah, that's great.
Then over here we got some ponds.
So over here we see that this is Burkholt's Bayou.
Yep.
Who was that?
So Mrs. Burkholtz was a teacher for many, many years at McLane Elementary. Now she's a volunteer in the office. She's still there, and she's one of the longtime people. So it doesn't look like it did at first, because at first it was perfectly rectangular, and we always put an island in the middle so baby critters can be born. We teach the kids about that. And we worked closely with the fifth graders, and they had to figure out, okay, how many square feet is the pond, and then how deep is it going to be. They had to each class got to design the pond themselves, so they're different shapes, and they had to tell me. I went in, and they had to tell me how many square feet it was, how many cubic feet it was, and then retract the island, how many cubic feet did that take out of it. And they had to go through their basic math to do it. And then we wanted a name that went with the teacher's name. So they said, well, Burkholt's Bayou would be a good one. And so that's what we named this one. And she was a fabulous, fabulous teacher. So every year, this was a kind of a wet spot in this area. And we'd always get the truck stuck here, so we thought, well, this would be a good place for a pond. And it's like it got water in it all winter, and then summertime it dries up.
Yeah.
And that's just fine. And we've got one that's farther on down that has a liner in it, so it keeps water in it all summer and winter. And they had a pond seminar at Evergreen one year, and they came and looked at all our ponds. And one of them, they said, well, this pond's been here for, well, they thought it had been there for 100 years.
Uh-huh.
So I took them the pictures of us digging it 3 years ago. We had a lot of laughs about that.
I bet.
But what they were judging on was the number of critters in it, number of things that it was, So this was another one named after Mrs. Porter.
Uh-huh.
And she was the librarian, and Judy Porter really helped us a lot, so that's Porter Pond.
And then what about the benches and all this? It
Benches.
it says on the sign Eagle Scout Kevin Barnes here, and that's kind of a big project, right?
Yep.
Eagle Scout projects?
Well, we have lots of Eagle Scout projects along the trail. These benches were made out of highway signs that were hit by drunk drivers.
Oh, wow.
And there were people that had wrecks and hit the signs. These were big, long posts that the signs were held. And they've made perfect benches for us, and they're indestructible. So, but that's interesting. We've had very little damage on the trail. We've had very little vandalism on the trail.
Well, I think it's just so used so often.
Very little litter. So we're really blessed by that.
So, as we look around here, I got to ask, who does the maintenance? I see you out here every so often, but is there a crew, or how does that work?
No, I do a lot of it, but the county comes about, I think, twice a month, and they have a fellow that comes. He's a real good guy, but there's really not a lot to do. I mean, people pick up the litter. We have one volunteer that does all the dog manure, any dog manure. They picks it up and takes it away, and we've just had very little problem. So we're really lucky.
One of the great things about it is the way that you can head down the trail and then hit across the overpass, and then get to the school side of that. And there's a lot of things that you have planned over there too.
Yes, and the overpass was really a dilemma for us.
I bet.
Because people come up Mud Bay Hill so fast, and there was no crosswalks until the fire department put in the new station, and then we got a light there and so forth. But people come up Mud Bay so fast that we could not safely get the kids across the street.
Right.
So the fire department would virtually hook a truck across Mud Bay Road to stop the traffic while we brought the kids over here, because we were just afraid to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And they did that for years. Well, then when we worked with the Department of Transportation and they helped us on the overpass, everybody's been really helpful. And it takes years to do it, but it's really paid off.
I think now we should head over by that McLane site and see what you're thinking about.
Sure.
So on this side of the trail, Ralph, now we're kind of near the school. You can see it off in the background, and they've got some big plans there too, but there's some neat little cutouts here, and we're walking down one now.
This was designed for the kids to learn, have a learning experience, and they could come down here as a class, not be bothered by anybody. And there's a little lake in here called Arnold Lake.
Okay.
And it's very interesting because the freeway is practically right next to it.
Yeah.
And the other entrance highway goes practically right over it. But there's an amazing amount of wildlife in Arnold Lake. And so we had a young man here in the community who wanted to do an Eagle Scout project. And he built this beautiful platform for us where a classroom can come and sit and learn about a lake and learn about the environment and learn about, aquatic creatures and migratory creatures and so forth.
These are the experiences. These are what kids remember in school.
Sure. So many times we've had kids meet here, and this is where they see the lake.
So what are some of the different creatures that you've seen?
Well, we have seen just about every creature on the trail over a period of years, except for a cougar.
Oh, really?
We've not seen a cougar, but we've known when there was one here.
Yeah.
So we've seen everything you could possibly imagine. Fox, bear, deer, of course, everything that lives in this community. And right across the street, across the highway here, is a major piece of property owned by Port Blakely Timber, and then there's other property, big piece of property nearby, and we're real close to Capitol Forest.
Yeah.
So the lake's pretty overgrown right now, but it floods right up to the edge here, and you'll see a lot of ducks and geese and stuff that kids don't see at home.
Right.
So it's been good.
there's a lot of birdhouses along both sides. What's the story on that?
Well, we've been putting birdhouses up for years. We've had projects where the kids built the birdhouses. We've had projects where we brought them and the kids painted them. But the kids, we've taught all the kids that one swallow, one little violet green swallow, eats about 200 mosquitoes an hour. And so the kids suddenly got interested in birdhouses. And so we've done birdhouses just about every year.
That's great.
And it's a simple way to do it. Just a short environmental lesson, but you learn from it. So
one of the things up near the school is some big plans that you have about some trees. Let's go over there.
okay.
So all along this part of the trail here, this continues on, and you were saying that it's a couple different property owners across the whole
Many
thing.
property owners. We worked with both the Washington State Department of Transportation, with Thurston County, with the Olympia School District, a wide variety of property owners. And they've all been pretty darn helpful and supportive. And now that you see more and more people using it, they're even more supportive.
Yeah, I bet they are. One of the things too that you see along the trail at different points are benches. We're about to pass one here that we'll take a look at, but
Right.
where do these come from?
Well, these are Eagle Scout projects. We've had scouts all over the area. They try to outcompete each other. This is Doug Peacher's bench, and he went to Olympia High, and his folks live here and in Squim, and he and his family and his grandparents, and he went out and recruited and found all the materials, got it donated, and brought these down, and we bolt them down, and thus far we've had no vandalism. They've been see people using them all the time.
And I've seen some other ones on the other side that are dedicated to people who have
Yes.
either used the trail or enjoyed being outdoors.
You can order one of those from the county, and they have a purveyor, supplier, and I think it's $200 or $300, and they put a bench in for you, and they're very good too. They hold up well, so it's been a good opportunity for families.
You've been really
Lost a loved one.
You've been really active with this, but I mean, you can't do this forever, right?
Well, I'm going on 80 years old, so how long can you do it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it keeps you young out here, getting fresh air and all
Yeah.
that. But at some point, you got to kind of hope that folks kind of take up the torch.
Oh,
right?
I'm happy that they have. The parents at the school and teachers, and not every school has a system like this. Where right next to the school grounds, you have a trail that all the environmental learning opportunities and opportunities to do stuff outdoors. And, it's pretty neat opportunity for the school.
How do folks? And I know there are. There's a spot once a year or so you have your envelopes out that people can send donations into
Right.
for that. But other than that, how is the community able to support you, either by volunteering their time or taking the time to clean up things?
Well,
I mean, what would you be looking for?
We've got people that I don't even know who they are, that they're out here with the blowers blowing the trail off, or they're trimming the blackberries. I just see evidence of their work.
Yeah.
And I don't have any idea who did it, but more power to them.
Kind of take ownership of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what's great about these.
Yeah, it's great.
So I know as we get closer to the school, there's you got some big plans to honor and celebrate the past principals at McLane. Where'd that come from?
Well, every past principal, we've had 6 or 7, I guess. We planted trees in their honor someplace. 1 tree, 2 trees, 3 trees, and we're going to plant a group up here for several principals as well. Right up here in this vista.
So what's the process on that? How big are they going to be? Is it a representation? The type of tree represents something, or is it just honor?
We've right now we've had contact with a group from California and from elsewhere that started to do seedlings of giant sequoias.
Okay.
And we thought, well, that's something we haven't planted many of, and they're hard to get seedlings like this, so we've been growing some seedlings and getting them ready. It'll be up here in this hill.
It is amazing that we are so close to the highway and major thoroughfares.
Yeah.
It's just right here. The school's sure probably grown up over the years
Oh
that you've
boy,
seen.
has it ever.
The fresh remodel over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
That looks great.
It used to be just a little old wooden schoolhouse,
Yeah.
and it's sure changed.
So at that point, you know, what was the range of when the kids were coming into this McLane school? How far out? At that point, was there anything at Steamboat or Griffin, or was everybody coming here?
No, as long as I've been here, they've been coming for quite a ways.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of people in the community that remember when this was just a tiny little school for a few kids, you know.
Uh-huh. Let's
So
go
it's
this.
kinda-
Let's go cut off this way here and take a look and see. This is kind of where you're thinking about. There's been a lot of cleanup already, but still obviously some more to do that we'll take a look at here. But this is kind of the spot that you're thinking. for
Yeah, I
all
think we're going
these?
to plant some sequoias up in here, and it's a pretty spot. You can look one direction and out there in the hills of the Capitol Forest. Look the other direction, and down through that valley you can see Mount Rainier.
Yeah, on a clear day for
So-
sure. This will be a beautiful spot. There
And
are. Yeah, go
this
ahead.
is a learning experience too, right at your feet. So at one point there was a home here someplace
Okay.
years ago, and you know, up till about 1970 or 80, there was no garbage service out in the rural areas.
Right.
So people just had a pit in the backyard. They'd throw their garbage in there and burn it, so forth. So as I was clearing up here, I ran into one, and I picked up most of the stuff, but then I said, no, let's leave some of this stuff
To show.
so kids can see that we've been blessed with new ways to deal with our garbage and
That's a great. Always a learning experience.
with our environment.
Did you find anything that signified a year?
No, but I know we found 3 of these on the trail route.
Okay.
This one, and then there's 2 others up by the college.
Now this area, we've got the school here. This area where you're thinking for the sequoias, this is also kind of adjacent to a county project that they're in the works on over the next, I don't know, couple months or a year or so for an off-leash dog park in this area.
Right.
So this is really going to be further utilized even more.
Oh, I think it'd be wonderful because people can take their dogs on the trail on a leash, and they'll have the dog park where they can run free in, you know, certain areas, and there's no neighbors that they'll be bothering, and I think it's the city and the county working together. It's fun to see that. So it looks out over the school grounds. I think it'll be good.
How can folks either get in touch with you, or is there some, you know, a general email address that folks can reach out to you and ask?
Well, the best
How they
way is
know?
just through McLane School.
Okay,
Just Ralph Munro and McLane School.
they know how to get you.
They'll find me. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
probably around somewhere doing something, huh? This has been a great opportunity to talk with you more, and just seeing the history here. One of the things that you told me too, that the property, there's a property here that could be, what, 80 years old at least, if not further, the Arnold.
Yeah,
you
Arnold
mentioned-
family farm down there, and we still see those daffodils come up around where their house used to be, and those daffodils have to be 80 years old. So, you know, I suppose, you know, our bulbs don't last 80 years, but I'm sure that some days people will look at them and think, well, I wonder who planted these and what
Sure.
year it was, you know?
Sure. Well, I like the fact that along the trail there are markings that kind of describe the things that you're seeing, the different trees and all that stuff. It's just
Yeah.
a really nice nature trail, and you know, being close to this, we count this as one of a key gem for living in this area. to
Well,
have
thank you.
access
That's
to
good.
this.
Well, you know, all of us need to make our communities better, and you and others have done that. And I think the important thing is these kids. I laughed. I went in the bank downtown to pay my credit card bill, and this young lady looked up at me and said, "Hello, Mr. Munro." And I said, "How do you know my name?" I said, "Goodness gracious, I'm 78 years old." She said, "Oh, I was a McLane School tree planter." You know, and so kids remember.
Yeah.
And so I hope she'll be out here making sure that these projects continue on. And
I mean, by now, there's a lot of those first edition tree planters that are bringing their families
Yep.
back.
And we've got kids, grandkids. You know, when the newer school was built, not this remodel, but the newer school, there was a elderly lady up the road here. The school didn't have any money for landscaping, so she bought all the trees, honored her grandchildren. Now, her kids, and now I think kids and great grandkids of hers have gone through McLane School.
That's amazing.
So you know, it's all a matter of establishing a community and keeping it that way. And so we've had a lot of help, a lot of good people.
It's a good trail. It's a good place to take your family. It's a good place to take your dogs and walk around. And if you feel the need to help out and offer your assistance in any way to really clean up things or make sure that the daffodils get planted or you're on the right committee, again, get in touch with the McLane School, McLane Elementary, and just say you want to help out Ralph Munro and the trail systems here and the McLane trails. And I think there's going to be more that the McLane School is going to be working on in the future, but it's a great opportunity, and it's definitely a gem in the community, and it's something that we want to make sure stays nice, looks nice, and continues to be nice for generations.
Well, I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.